G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going through my round 6 AFL tips and predictions. Apologies for releasing this video a day late. I was obviously still in Adelaide last night and just didn't really get the time to actually produce a tipping video. I actually tried to film it in the hotel room, and let me just tell you, that didn't really go out the way I really wanted it to. And because of the fact that Gatherand was last week, I am repping the Gatherand hat, the bucket hat, for this video because it just looks really nice, I won't lie. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't do my hair. Of course, as we always do, we'll review last week's tips for round 5, and I scored a pretty nice 7 out of 9. I was in the top 20%. And I think it's my best score as of so far after round 5. So that's not bad, especially for it to happen in Gatherand, which was, let me just quickly point out, one of the greatest weeks of my life. And there'll be heaps of content coming out soon of my trip to the games and all that. So you can expect to see that very soon. The tips, I went for Adelaide, which was a good tip. Got that one correct. I went Fremantle, Sydney and Brisbane. So I started really well, but then I got this one incorrect. And I won't lie, I don't think many people would have got this one right. Essendon, well, what a game they played. They got the upset win over Melbourne. Then I put Adelaide to beat the Bulldogs, the Cats to beat the Eagles, the Giants to beat the Hawks and the Saints. I had to back us in. I had to back in my own side, and I was close. I was very close, but I just fell short by 6 points in what was a ripping game of footy. The vlog, you can go and watch that if you want to already. Now, for my big calls, as we always do, we'll review those. And for round 5, we'll go through them. First game, I said that Adelaide Carlton would combine for 150 or more tackles. I was relatively close, however, they only ended up being 132. I said that in Freo v Gold Coast, it'd be 10 or more inside 50s recorded to the Dockers. They only recorded 3. In the Richmond-Sydney game, I was pretty close with this one. I said there'd be a 30-plus point lead in the first half by any side. The biggest lead was by 22 points to the Swans. Obviously, they ended up winning the game by more than 30 in the end. Now, this probably was one of my worst big calls I've ever done. I said in Brisbane North, there'd be 135 or less points combined in the game. And it's probably one of the most highest scoring games we've seen in quite a while combined. 229 combined points actually ended up happening, so I was well off that one. For Essendon v Melbourne, I said that the Dons would score 5 or more behinds and goals. They actually ended up scoring 1 more goal. I got my first one correct in Adelaide v Bulldogs. I successfully predicted that the Dogs would score 4 or less goals by half time, and got that one bang on in the wet. For the Sunday games, for the Cats v Eagles, I said there'd be 2 or more 6-goal quarters recorded by the Cats, and they were very bloody close. They scored 1 9-goal quarter and 2 5-goal quarters. I'll tell you what, I should have got that one correct. I'd said that Toby Green would kick 5 or more goals against the Hawks. He only ended up kicking 3. And to finish off the round for my big calls, it wasn't great. I said that there would be 18 or more combined goals up until half time. And in a low-scoring game, we only saw 8. So obviously, we only ended up getting 1 of 3 correct punishments. So the one with the most likes for the last video was from all the goals, and his punishment was to make a Super Netball Tips video. How did that one get the most likes? Seriously, I'm not doing it on my main channel, but I do have a More Cardman second channel, which I haven't uploaded in ages. But if I pin the link down below, expect to see some content on there where I post, the full-length version of my punishments that, I won't lie, I've still yet to do. I know I said I'd do the couple of them in Gatherand. I couldn't find a princess dress. And I forgot to bring Melbourne Renegades merch up because I still don't own any. So, Lockie and I, we're going to try and film a couple this week. I don't know, I might have to do like an extra punishment if I don't at least get one out in the next tipping video. You'll see one in the next tipping video. I promise. I absolutely bloody promise, because I'm falling behind. Alrighty, well, now with that all completed, let's go through my round 6 AFL tips. And this is the Anzac Day weekend, so I'm really looking forward to this one. It really should be an exciting round of footy. We kick things off with the Friday night game. There are no Thursday night games anymore. They start now on the Friday. And at Optus Stadium, we've got Fremantle take on the Western Bulldogs at 8:10 p.m. at Optus Stadium. Now, let's not lie. Both teams have been relatively disappointing to start off their campaigns in 2023. Obviously, the Dogs and the Dockers, they played off in finals last year, and we thought they were possible sides that could have pushed for the 4. A lot of people were saying, but so far, we haven't really seen too much out of both of these sides. A lot of disappointing results. Fremantle, they did pick up the win, but in a very unconvincing fashion. I mean, the Suns were, in my opinion, the better side for longer. But the Dockers, they just got into 5th, 6th gear at the end of the game and just ran over the top of the Suns through repeated efforts inside 50 and getting on top of the midfield, which is what the Dockers just needed to do, get that win, and they did by 10 in a good way at the end of the day. Whereas the Western Bulldogs, they were, I guess, gallant in defeat. It was one of those games where I didn't really get to catch a lot of, even though I was there. I was on the hill getting pissed, but yeah, the Dogs were certainly in the game for a lot of it. Obviously, Bontempelli, he had a great game. Tim English and Kobe Waitman kicking 4 goals in his return game, but again, they were just a little bit dysfunctional inside 50, and it didn't help, I guess, how it was wet. It was going to be one of those low-scoring games. It was close for a lot of it, but the Dogs just went down by 14 against the Power in, not the worst loss in the world. Still, leading into this game, I do rate the Dogs more than the Dockers. And even though it is played at Optus and it is a difficult, fixture to play at, I've been more convinced with the Dogs this year, even though I haven't been too convinced with them. I just don't rate the Dockers this season so far, and I'm going to go the Dogs in some bit of an upset, you'd probably say. by 12 points. My big call, the Dogs lead for 70% or more of the game. Alrighty, we've got 3 Saturday games now to look at for the round. We've got the first one between the Power and the Eagles at the Adelaide Oval on 1:45 PM time slot. And the Power, they're clear favourites to win this game for obvious reasons. Sitting ninth on the ladder, and recording 2 wins in a row now against the Dogs and the Swans. And for the majority of the game, it was pretty close and contested. The Power did get on top early, but then the Dogs sort of wrestled control back into the game. And it was only until the last, couple of minutes of the game where Dersmer and Butters kicked the final 2 goals to give them a 14-point win for the Power. And a very close game of footy, that is to say, for the Eagles. They were okay. They were good in bits. They weren't disgraced against a side like the Cats, who certainly flexed their muscle in that first half after not scoring a goal in the first 14 minutes. I think they had 11 goals in a row consecutively and looked to be winning it by 100-plus points like they always do against the Eagles at half-time. But West Coast, to their credit, they stayed in the game. They didn't drop their heads and actually ended up winning that second half by a fair bit. So I'd say the West Coast can take a bit out of that game. I don't think West Coast have any chance really of winning this. They're still certainly a depleted list and still have a lot of things to get right if they want to rise up the ranks in the ladder. But again, I do expect Port Adelaide to win this game, but I don't think West Coast are going to be too poor. I'm going to go Port Adelaide by 48 points. My big call to the Eagles to have a goal kicking accuracy of 66% or more. Next game we head to is in Canberra between the Giants and the Lions at 4:35 PM. Not really the most interesting matchup of all time, let's be real. Giants recording a pretty good win at Norwood Oval against the Hawks on the weekend. I guess it just felt like one of those games of footy where it just was always going to go down to the wire from the start of the game. And even though I didn't really get to watch this, unfortunately, it was one of probably the best games to gather around. What a finish it was. Harry Himmelberg, the hero, taking that specky in the last 2 minutes to kick the goal. And then that match-saving defensive effort in the last 30 seconds to stop a Hawthorn goal and to give him that win. The Giants will certainly take a bit out of that game. I know it was against Hawthorn, not the most quality of opposition, and they're coming up against a side that, I'm not going to lie, is a lot better quality-wise than the Hawks and the Lions. The Lions, they obviously recorded a very impressive win. They flexed their muscles after quarter time and proved that they are capable of scoring a massive score and that they're still one of the best sides in the competition, even though it was against North Melbourne. But they've been getting better North, and this was another test for the Lions because I just don't really rate them outside of the Gabba, and the fact that they got a very, very healthy win. I think the main 3 forwards, Hipwood, Danaher, Cameron, combined for something like 14 goals. And the Lions, if I'm not mistaken, had a record in their history of inside 50s, marks inside 50 for a game. So a lot to take out of that game for the Lions. They'd certainly be going to this one with a lot of confidence. The Giants, never know they're a chance, but I feel like this is going to be one of those low-scoring, scrappy games you always see in Canberra where no real side dominates, but it's never really a close game either. So I'm going to go the Lions win it by 25 points. My big call, Charlie Cameron, kicks 5 or more goals. Now, this is one of the games I think of the round, even though there are quite a few of them. We've got the Cats taking on the Swans at GMHBA Stadium. Very, very interesting game to sort of see where both sides are at in a way. The Cats, are they finally capable of beating a quality side? Because obviously they got their 2 wins, but those have been against the bottom 2 sides of the table. And they haven't been, entirely convincing. They haven't played a full quarter performance yet, the Cats, in any games. I mean, against Hawthorn, poor first half, good second half against West Coast. Had a good against first half, but then that second half they dropped off, and a lot of Cats fans, even though they get that win by 7 goals, they were quite disappointed with the way they played in the end, and they weren't very happy with the win. So if the Cats want to beat the Swans, they've got to be at their best, and they've got to be putting in a little bit more than just a 2-quarter effort. Obviously, Sydney on the weekend, they picked up a pretty good win against Richmond. A Richmond side that is to say very depleted, but they made it look easy, the Swans. And then again, the standout player, Tom Papley, kicked 6 goals, had 25 touches. He was superb. It will be a very tough game, though, for the Swans, even though I do rate them more leading into this game. But it is at GMHBA Stadium. They'll be unveiling their flag, the Cads, and they're just one of the most difficult sides to beat when they're playing games at GMHBA, the Cats. It's just one of the most strong, it's one of the strongest advantage in football. It still is, and I think because of the fact there's a GMHBA Stadium home ground factor, and the fact that the Swans have been a slight bit shaky in the last few outings, I think the Cats can find a way to win this game. It'll be good. I will probably stream this one, but I'm going to go the Cats slightly in a safe one, in a close one as well, by 9 points. My big call, Jeremy Cameron kicks 3 or more goals in any quarter alone. Alrighty, the Sunday games, we've got the first one between the Hawks and the Crows at UTAS Stadium. Another clash that I don't think I'll be tuning into at all. Hawthorn, obviously, on the weekend, went down by a couple of points against the Giants, and it was a good game for them. They competed for most of the game, and they just fell short at the end due to some heroics by Harry Himmelberg. I don't think they were disgraced in that one, because I expected them to lose that one by more than what they did. And Adelaide, well, how good were they on the weekend? They absolutely dismantled the Blues from the word go, kicking 8 in that first quarter. Jordan Dawson, again, having a standout game, having more than 30 touches and dominating in fantasy. And the Crows goal kickers, they're one of the best offenses in the league, the Crows now. They're just scoring over 100 points every week for fun. And it's another game where it could be deadly, possibly for the Hawks. I know this is at UTAS, and they play their best footy, the Hawks at UTAS, and I won't lie, Adelaide don't. But this is a new Adelaide side we're looking at this year. They've got 3 wins in a row. They probably could have had 4, 5 in a row if they actually were more consistent in their first 2 games. And you're going to be a brave person to tip against the Crows with how they've been going so far, especially against a side like the Hawks. I think Hawthorn will certainly play good footy, but Adelaide will be too strong and win it by 24 points. My big call, Jordan Dawson records 35 or more disposals. Now, this game is going to be one of the biggest games of the round for sure. Carlton take on the Saints at Marvel Stadium, Sunday, 3:20 p.m. Barely anything splits these two sides. The tipsters, they don't know who to pick. It's 50-50, the odds. 50-50 pretty much. It's going to be a cracking game of footy. The two sides were undefeated heading into gather round. We're both dropping games for the first time this season. And more concerningly, like Blues, I still don't think they've been at their best for sure in the first 4 weeks, even though they've been picking up results. And I guess probably because of the fact that was the case for a bit, you know, they got a bit of a reality check against a really, really dominant Crows outfit who have been in some super form. And yeah, they were just out of the game from the word go. The Blues didn't really find anything going their way. Paddy Cripps had a stinker of a game. The 2 key forwards, Curnow and Mackay, were never really at it. And yeah, disappointing for Carlton. A bit of a concern there, but it's just sort of one of those games I feel like they can brush off and hopefully respond in. And I do expect a Carlton response. And same goes to the Saints. They'll be hungry after that loss against the Pies because, you know, they played some good footy, I'd say. They weren't at their best again. I think both sides had too many skill areas, especially in that first half. It wasn't the most pretty of games to watch, but I definitely am proud of the way St Kilda fought out that game and didn't drop their heads and allow the Pies to just completely run over the top of them. Because when the Saints were down by 26 late in that last quarter, I really thought this could have been a 40-plus point loss if the old St Kilda was here, you know, under Brett Latton. I think that would have been a 40-plus point loss. But the fact that the Saints were able to kick the goals late and just dominate the end of that game to almost run over the top of Collingwood goes to show they're going to be a good side this year, I hope. And I think in this game, I think we've seen a lot more from the Saints to probably trust them. I know I'm a Saints fan, so of course I'm going to tip my own team in the Saints. I've got the faith that we'll win this game. It'll be tough, though, because the Blues are a good side at Marvel. They've rarely dropped games, but we beat them in the same fixture last year. We've now got Steele and Memory back, hopefully. So I am going to go the Saints, and I actually think we'll win this one relatively comfortably. We're going to have a big last quarter to win it by 27 points. My big call, Mackay and Curnow combined for 3 or less goals. We'll then head over to the Gold Coast for the 4:40 p.m. clash at Heritage Bank Stadium between Gold Coast and North Melbourne. And again, another team that I don't think many people are going to be turning their tellies on to watch when you've got a game like Carlton St Kilda on. Of course, the Suns on the weekend, they picked up a loss against the Dockers, and it was a game that they should have won. I feel like the Suns have been in those positions too many times when they've had a really nice lead early or at half time, and then they've sort of just dropped it, let it all go, and let other sides, you know, run over them. And it was again the same case for the Suns. It was a close one for the whole game, but they just weren't able to find that star power, that firepower at the end of the game. It was the Dockers that got the win, and that would be disappointing because their season's almost gone now. It's slipping away incredibly fast, and if they don't beat North here, and honestly convincingly, I think it's safe to say it's curtains already for the Suns in terms of making the final. It probably already is. I think Stewie G will probably get the sack, but we'll see what happens. Whereas North Melbourne, well, how disappointing were they? I really expected a whole lot more from them in that game, and especially after the start that they've had to the season, I think they've been certainly more gallant in their defeats. And it looked good for them at quarter time. They were in the game. They actually were dominating early in the play and kicking some goals. It was 5 goals, 1 apiece at quarter time. But after that, it felt like North Melbourne just had enough and were content with that first quarter. The fans certainly did. One of the worst cheer squads I've ever been to, but one of the best atmospheres and experiences of a game I've ever been to. But North Melbourne, yeah, they just leaked goals. Their defence was shambolic, really. I think they considered 42 scoring shots, and it just kept going down the other end of the goals for Brisbane, and North Melbourne just didn't know what to do. So I was very disappointed with the way North played. They would expect to fight back against a side like Gold Coast, but because it's played in Metricon or Heritage, whatever you call it, you're going to have to go the safe one, and I think Gold Coast should win this one by 20 points. With my big call on this one, both sides score more behinds than they do goals. Alrighty guys, we've got 2 more games now ahead of us, and this one is going to be the Anzac Day Eve clash between Melbourne and Richmond. Should I go to it? I kind of feel like it'd be a good one to go to, even though it probably won't be a good game, given how 2 sides have been performing so far this season. Obviously Melbourne, they probably had one of their worst games they've ever played in a good 3 years. I mean, they were just not anywhere near their best, and Essendon just showed them who was boss. I feel like that was the sort of game where the D's probably expected to beat Essendon fairly comfortably, just thinking, oh, they're not that good. They only played poor opponents. But it was not to be, because Essendon was certainly the better side, and Melbourne, yeah, they were just not good at all. They really weren't. They had a bit of a fight in that last quarter, but that was about it. And Richmond, speaking not good, they're now sitting 15th on the ladder after I thought was a decent start to the season. After having them in my top 3, I had them 3rd to start the season off, and that is no chance of happening now with the way they've been going. I know a lot of people are saying they've got injuries, but it's not just the injuries. They've only got a handful, but it's just the way they've been playing. And I don't know, something about Richmond. Maybe they're off it now. Maybe their time is up, and it's time to maybe start rebuilding with a lot of aging players on their list. And it's probably not going to be a very good game. I don't think this one is. I streamed the last Anzac Day Eve fixture and it wasn't a good one, and I really do think Melbourne at the MCG, with the way Richmond have been going, should win this one relatively easily. I'm going 43 points, my big call. Melbourne have 80 or more disposals than the Tigers. And we've possibly saved the best game for last. We've got the Anzac Day clash between Collingwood and Essendon at the MCG. This will be my first Anzac Day game that I'll ever attend, so certainly expect a vlog. I'm super keen because this one is going to be heavily promoted, highly anticipated, considering both sides are very, very high up on the ladder. I think it's the first time since 2000 where the two sides have been in the top 4 leading into this Anzac Day clash, and the Bombers sitting 2nd, the Pies sitting 3rd. We've got a juicy Anzac Day contest waiting for us, that is for sure. Obviously, the Pies picked up a great win against the Saints, who, certainly tested them, that is for sure. It wasn't an easy game for the Pies, and they certainly had to play to their best to get that win. But a good 6-point win against a good Saints outfit will give them some confidence leading to this one. And the confidence will certainly be at the Bombers as well after beating one of the best sides in the comp fairly comfortably as well. The Demons. I mean, the Demons really never looked like winning the game. With the way the game was played, and yeah, it's going to be a close game. Obviously, Collingwood have been the more trustworthy side, and I'm still not quite sure whether Essendon are going to sustain this. But this could be one of those years where Essendon are able to sustain this and possibly a top 4 side. It's Anzac Day footy. Anything can happen. It's always a relatively good game on the Anzac Day clash. And I do think this is going to be another cracker. And I'm actually going to tip in a bit of an upset here. I'm going Essendon. Honestly, don't think I give the Bombers enough love at all. And the Bombers fans certainly do let me know about it whenever I don't tip them. But I think Essendon, with the way they've been playing so far, can pinch this upset result. Collingwood obviously are going to be taking it up to them. But we're going the upset in this one. The Bombers by 1 point. How good would that be? And my big call that Nick Dacos wins his very first Anzac Day medal, continuing a stellar start to the season. Alrighty guys, well those are my tips for round 6. Let me know what you thought of them. Let me know your tips down below as well. I went the Dogs in. You'd probably call an upset given it's at Optus. I've got obviously Port Adelaide, the Lions, the Cats, the Crows, the Saints, the Suns, the D's, and I go on the Bombers. I've gone the Bombers in a bit of a roughie. I think that game is going to also be a very good one. Now, as you guys are probably already aware by now, I have my own tipping competition called 2023 Cardman 22's Tipping Comp. It's almost at 1,000 members. I've got to put the new updated link in the description, so go and have a look at that as well, because there's a chance to win some good prizes at the end of the season. Now, to see who got 9 out of 9 after round 5, it's 5 people. So 5 people all got 9 out of 9. But from the looks of it, they're literally all Essendon fans. So it doesn't shock me that all of the Essendon fans had faith in the club, because who else really tipped Essendon that wasn't an Essendon fan? I doubt many. But the 5 people that got all 9 out of 9s were LJH, Essendon top 4, Noam Flag Dons, Bomber Hill 05, and Sam Draper for the Premier. So literally every account name has got to do with Essendon. They all got 9 out of 9, so well done to them. That is pretty good stuff there. And we have a look at total score to see who's leading the competition after round 5. We'll go through the top 14 after the 32 points. So the 2 building on 34 who are leading are Jack Ridstrom and Gabe AFL Ball. He's doing really well. He's been consistent as Gabe AFL Ball been. Downer for the win, still doing really well with 33. So is Jay the God. And then we got quite a few on 32 points. We've got ESPN Tipping Master, Archie Dallinger. Studi YT. I think we all know Studi well enough to know that that's a bit of a shock. How the fact that he's gotten 32, that's some good stuff from Sturdy. Joel M, also Lincoln Walk, George Tingay, Ben Platten, Dangerwood, Brennan Moore, and Ice Tray 11 all on 32. But anyways, guys, those are my round 6 tips. They will be out on the Tuesday, I think, for the foreseeable future every week. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, great time to do so now. We're closing on 26k subs. We're about to do the Team Coach box break giveaway soon, and there's just going to be heaps of content coming out. Gather around AFL 23. So much stuff you don't want to miss out on. I'm really excited. And I hope you guys also feel like wanting to help out the channel by hitting that subscribe button and also that like button. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. I will see you guys very soon in my next one. Have a good one.